certified trainer and educator. And today I'm so happy to have on my show Mr. Jake Miller from Ohio. Hi,
Yeah.
Jake.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for having me on again. This is time number three, I think, for me. I need
It's
some kind
been
of
a few times.
yeah, like they do like on Saturday Night Live and stuff like that, where they joke about they have this like the special club for the people who've been on Saturday Night Live multiple times. I need the special sweet talk club.
Maybe I should make maybe I need to make some tears. I don't know, but and I don't have any good jokes like you had for me when I was on your podcast, your educational duct tape podcast either. So
We definitely get silly on educational duct tape, don't we?
it was fun.
Yeah, I got to goof around, right? We work so hard in our day jobs. We've got to add in that layer of fun doing that kind of stuff. That's the way I like
Yeah,
it.
you have to keep it light. So Jake, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know about you, but let's let the audience hear about what you do during your day job.
Yeah, gladly. So I have been in education. I think this is either year 18 or 19. I'm scared to count. But I started off as a sixth grade math teacher, taught that for 6 years or so. And then I've kind of bounced around. I've taught math and science and STEM. The last 5 years, I was a technology integration specialist for a middle school. This year, due to some budget cuts, I'm back in the classroom again, teaching eighth grade science, which it's a hard year to be teaching, right? It would have been a hard year to be a tech coach as well, supporting all the teachers doing this hard work. The benefit of being back in the classroom, even though it's a hybrid setup that I'm in right now, the benefit of doing it is being with the students, right? Because that being with the kids adds some extra smiles to my day for sure. And then on the side, I was just saying, I just got home from work, put dinner in the oven, and now I'm down here at my computer again, moving on to kind of the side thing. And the side thing is this. It's stuff like what you do right here, right? Helping educators outside of your own school building with educational technology. That's been my passion for years. This is more than a hobby for me. This is something I really enjoy doing. And as you know, and as you mentioned earlier, I do that mostly through the Educational Duct Tape podcast, but also out there on the web and stuff like that too.
Yeah, so I know we have a lot, other than our podcast, we were just chatting about the school year and
Yeah.
the challenges and, mental health and just trying to take one day at a time with the demand of everything going on. So I'm glad that you're going to be on today talking about some fun ways of engagement and
Yeah.
learning in the classroom. So why don't we just get started?
Yeah.
I know you're going to be talking about Pear Deck and things like that. And I think that's a great tool for engagement and interaction. And it also keeps analytics on the student responses too. So this is a great topic for, hybrid learning or all
Yeah.
virtual learning. So why don't you take it over, Jake?
Yeah, so as you know, and I'll share my screen here so you can put it up when we get to that point. But as you know, my kind of focus with educational duct tape is on selecting ways that educational technology can meet the goals and problems we have in our classroom. So while it's great to just talk about Pear Deck or just talk about Nearpod or just talk about Flipgrid or any of those things, I am always trying to, and I know you are the same way, trying to come to things from the other direction, right? Like what do we need in the classroom, right? And so I've loved tools like Pear Deck for years because of how many goals it meets for me. But this year, especially, in a remote learning or a hybrid learning situation, being able to keep all kids kind of in the same place in a lesson, do formative assessment on kids that aren't there in the room with you. It's really powerful for me because I don't believe in forcing my students to have their webcam on. So it helps me know, number one, that my kids are actually there at their computers because, sometimes they walk away, right? So Pear Deck helps me check on that. But also it helps me check their understanding too, so I could find those issues as they're happening. But one of my other goals that I had this year, because I feel bad for the kiddos this year, was to add some fun every day into my class and to build that rapport with them, because I know they need those adults with rapport with them. And while I can't build wonderful rapport with every kid, but I can get as many students as I can and give them that one more trusted adult during their day that they know, is there for them and there to have fun with them. So every day, if I'm using Pear Deck, I launch Pear Deck with something fun for the kids to start off with. And it's always, always, always it's always during the beginning of the lesson while I'm maybe taking attendance and maybe I'm messaging some kids who came in late or were absent the day before or didn't do assignment the other day. I'm getting some kind of clerical stuff done while they're doing this and settling in, because like some kids come in 1 or 2 minutes late, some kids are 2 or 3 minutes early, and they're all it's different in a virtual environment. So it's a nice way to kind of get the class started in kind of a relaxed way. And then we always share the things we do, and that's where we have some fun. I have to force myself. I set a timer on my phone. I actually have alarms set on my phone to go off on my phone 10 minutes after the class period begins, because if I don't, we might spend 25 minutes talking about these fun activities. I know, like, there's a limit to how much time I should be spending on that. But I believe, like, if it's a 40-minute period, and I spend 10 minutes on rapport building and having fun, then the other 30 minutes that I spend on instructional stuff is going to be more effective, right? Because of the base layer that we built with that stuff that we did at the beginning of the period. So in Pear Deck, I do a variety of different activities, and I just kind of rotate them. Like whatever thing I haven't done in a while, I'll just throw it in. The kids will tell me, like, oh, we haven't done this in a while. Can we do one of these? And I'll pick different things that they did. So if you wouldn't mind, I've got my screen shared there with you. And I have the Pear Deck bar open here on the right. And this is the Pear Deck add-on that you see in Google Slides. Pear Deck does work in PowerPoint, but I'm a Google guy, so, and as I know you are, as we see the coloring in the Sweet Talk logo up there, right? But it does work in PowerPoint too if you happen to be a PowerPoint user. The Pear Deck add-on is free. Using Pear Deck is free. On this particular account, I'm using the free version. You can see the stars by the draw and draggable slides, indicating that those are in the premium versions. Now, I'll share in a moment a hack for using them, even on the free account. And don't tell Pear Deck I told you.
Oh yeah, it's just being broadcasted.
Right. Just me and you. Pear Deck will never find out. But I'll share a hack for how to use those. At school, I have access to, through my district, I'm fortunate enough to have access to a premium version and be able to use those too regularly. But there is a hack to use them here in this version. So one of the most common ones, like today we're recording on a Monday. So today I always start my Monday classes off with tell us about your weekend. And actually what I normally say is tell us a weekend highlight. So they, instead of talking about maybe the bad stuff that happened on the weekend, I just ask them, what was the highlight of your weekend? So I wrote tell us about your weekend, but typically I say tell us a weekend highlight. So, and I normally make that a text slide and you click text over there and it'll take a second to make an interactive question. You'll see it adds that bar to the bottom down there. And this one will just give me a whole set of responses that we could look at as a class. And sometimes I'll tell the kids, add your name into your response, because otherwise they'll show up on the projector anonymously. So I'll tell them to add their name if they want their name to be read with it and be associated with it. And sometimes they don't, right? Because they want to keep that anonymous. And it's a fun way for me to get to know the kids to get to know each other. And they feel like they're part of a community when they get to share things like that, right?
I think it's like an icebreaker too. It's a nice way to start the class, like you said, to build a rapport with the kids. And then, like you said before, after you do this for 10 minutes, the rest of the class period, they're going to be more, I think it's more effective. Like you said.
Right. It's like thinking about, I don't know, like being on a basketball team or a football team and not knowing your teammates when the game starts, right? You're going to be more effective on the court or on the field if that's your team, right? Those are your guys, those are your teammates. And it's kind of similar with our classrooms, right? If we develop that rapport and those relationships and the kids see that I like them for them, right? And they like me for me, and we're there for each other. And like, it makes it easier when we have to do the serious work, right? So it does start off nice. Sometimes I'll do a question like this, just with a text slide, just like this one, and be a little sillier with the question. Like, so the other day I asked, do you like leftovers? And if so, what's your favorite food to eat for leftovers? I just pick whatever comes to mind, or maybe it's a would you rather or something like that. So one tip that I use a lot with Pear Deck is once you have one slide set up, you can duplicate it and it'll be set up to run as the same kind of question. So I could right click here and duplicate this. And so this new slide is also a text slide and I could just change what's on it, right? So this one I might say, would you rather be a walrus or a turtle? And why? Okay. Now, if I was just asking the first part of the question, I would probably make this a multiple choice slide, right? Because then they would have their choices. I try to do things that take a little longer than just clicking a choice because I want to take up a few minutes while I'm taking attendance, get them involved.
You
And I
have
get
an
to see their
alternative
personality too.
motive at the, you
Right,
have
right,
another,
right.
you
And if
you
they
have other things you need to do in the beginning of the class period.
Absolutely, right. And if they just click walrus or turtle, like I'm not learning their personality, right? So I get to see some their senses of humor and things like that come out. But these kinds of questions I could be asking, what's your favorite restaurant and why? Or that question about leftovers, or it could be what did you do this weekend, or lots of different things. Anything where I get to see their personalities. The other day it was who's your favorite musician or band or musical group that was recording songs before you were born? And that made me feel old because I teach 8th graders and some of them said Taylor Swift. And I was like, no, before you were born. And they're like, Mr. Miller, Taylor Swift's first song came out in 2006. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so old, right?
You are old.
Right? That made me feel really old right there. But yeah, that was a fun conversation. It was cool seeing some of the kids saying like, I'm really into the Monkees and Led Zeppelin and the Beatles and stuff like that. So it was a neat conversation that we started with kids that way. Sometimes I'll also do maybe a draggable slide like that too, so they could vote on different things and stuff like that. But some of my favorites are the drawing slides. Okay, so now you can see here that the drawing slide is a premium feature. It has that star by it. I can't use the drawing slide in the base way in the free version. However, here's the hack. If you go to the template library and pick a template, it doesn't matter what section you pick from, pick a template that is a drawing slide. So here's one. So I'm going to go ahead and add this in, and you'll see it'll pop it into slide 3 over here. And then I could take out the template part of it, right? So I can go in here. I could take out this 1. I could take out this 2. I could take out these lines right here, and I could change all this text to whatever I want it to be. So today it was, my question was in my afternoon classes was draw a turtle named Stacy. I don't know why. That was just what came to mind. And we had such a fun time drawing the turtles named Stacy, right? And then if I want more of these drawing slides with other topics, I just, again, come over here and I'm just going to click Control D or Command D here on my Mac to duplicate it. Now I have another one over there. One day, and I got this idea from somebody on Twitter, and I forget who it was. One day it was draw an elephant without looking at your screen. And then the best part, though, is hearing them giggle, even as 8th graders, while they're drawing it. But then the best part, really, is when I then share their drawings and we laugh and have a great time laughing at each other's elephants and things like that.
I love that. That's awesome.
And sometimes the kids bring in personality. Like you'll see they might draw an elephant and put an anime character next to it, or they might draw an elephant with a football or something like that. And it brings in their personality. And the cool thing is because they see them anonymously, we're also building this community. They're like, oh, I bet that was Jake that drew that one, or I bet that was Kim, because we're starting to kind of get to know each other a little bit more too. One of my kids' very favorite ones, so I'm going to duplicate this drawing slide again. And one of my favorite ones, or their favorite ones, is complete. I call it complete the squiggle. You'll see it called complete the scribble or complete the drawing or complete the doodle or whatever it might be. But I'll write that, and then I'll get this text tool up here, and I go to the scribble, and then I'll just literally go like that. I normally make it a little bit bolder. Maybe I'll go like 3 point and just leave it like that. And then when the kids get to draw, that scribble is there, and their assignment is to use that in their drawings. Now, some of my kids don't even use the scribble. They'll just like color white over top of it and draw what they want. And I'm like, who cares? Like that, the goal isn't completing the scribble. The goal is kind of starting off the class fun. And it's funny. I can now, and so can my students, look at the results of these drawings and name who drew half of them. And because we see like all of their personalities keep coming out, and we're getting to know each other through it, which is kind of a cool side.
Great. I think that's great. That's a nice way to build a community in your classroom in these difficult times. You know, it's hard.
Yeah.
And that really, it's like an icebreaker. You know, they're probably used to it by now too. Yeah. Like the first 10 minutes, they're expecting something to do.
Yep.
And then when you don't give it to them, they're looking for it. I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're
Yeah.
like, "Where's the complete the squiggle slide today?" And I'm like, "Oh, we got to get going with the lesson." They're like, "Come on!" So I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay,
Yeah.
I got to do it. I got to
You
do it."
disappoint them when you don't give it to them. That's good
Right.
that you got them into a routine that way, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and one other one that I'll share here too is using the draggable slides. And again, the draggable is a premium too. So if you're not in the paid version, you have to use the same hack to do a draggable. So I'll find a draggable over here. Here's a draggable. And sometimes I'll use this actual template with a thumbs up, thumbs down, where they'll drag like a star over to the thumbs up or thumbs down, and I'll just write a question like, "Do you like?" I don't know, the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we're here in Cleveland and near Cleveland, and we'll all go over to the thumbs down except for a couple kids, right? Or do you like leftovers, or do you like cheeseburgers or whatever? That's when I want something quick. I'll do something like that. Like we really need to get into our lesson today. We'll do a silly question, look at the results, and move on.
And
A little
move
less
on.
personality in that, but sometimes on a quick day we do that. But again, here I could take away all of this content if I want to, and just have the space here. So I might
So when
go
you
like,
take away the content, you're hacking it so you can use the premium version of that question.
yeah, you can't add a draggable slide like manually, like the regular way, but you can if you bring in one of their templates and pull stuff out of it.
Oh, so this is a template. Okay, I got
Yeah,
it.
right. Yeah. And if I go back to
Okay.
the main slide and try to turn, like, I can't go back to one of my slides and try to make it a draggable. I can only start with one of theirs and turn it into a draggable.
But it doesn't matter
Right.
for what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're
Right.
using a template or not. So,
Yeah.
okay, I have to check that out.
And really, to be honest, the only thing that really makes it a Pear Deck slide is this logo down here at the bottom. So you have to leave this content down here at the bottom. And I'm clicking on the wrong screen here. You have to leave this content down here at the bottom, and that link that's down there. And that's what, I don't know how it works, but that's what's making the Pear Deck part work, is that stuff right there. So I think probably, I've never tried it. You might be able to just copy and paste this onto a new slide and it might work. I've never messed with that. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I never did that either. I don't know.
Yeah. So some of the things I'll do with these, like a "How are you feeling" slide with the drag the icon. There is a folder that I got from Jen Giffen, which I'll send you this link here. I'll send it in the chat right now so we can make sure it gets out in your show notes. Jen Giffen, who's an awesome educator up in Canada, created this, and it's got a whole bunch of different virtual teaching resources in here. And one of the ones she has in here is on a scale of, and here in on a scale of, she's just got those little, like, on a scale of rubber ducks, on a scale of whatever, how are you feeling today? So let's try out on a scale of sloth. My daughter loves sloth, so let's use that one. So here we got a sloth image, right? And a bunch of different sloths. And the kids will laugh at the sloths and then drag their star to the sloth they feel like today. And let's see if I could just drag this up. Can I? Oops. Will you let me drag it over? No, you won't. No, not from Drive. Okay. So I would come in here and insert that image and then have that right here on this thing, and they'll drag their star over to it. So, you know what? Let me look at how this works as a draggable slide here, actually. It's got that blue dot down here at the bottom, and that's what they're going to see on their screen, is that blue dot to drag around and move around.
To drag around. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how they go through doing that. So those are some of my favorites. I've done ones where I do a drawing slide and put a word search on the page and just give them a couple minutes to see how many of the words they could find out of the word search. I've done some puzzles on the screen. So the drawing ones are always their favorites. I've had a couple kids who have made those on a scale of blank, how are you feeling today slides for me. One girl loves Taylor Swift and said, "Mr. Miller, you need a Taylor Swift version of this." And I said, "Hey, you make it and send me the image. We'll do it tomorrow." And I had it from her in a half an hour. And
Wow, look at that.
Yeah, another boy loves the It movies, which I don't watch horror movies, but he said, "Mr. Miller, you need a Pennywise version of this," who's I guess the clown in It. And I said, "You send it to me and we'll do it." So he sent it to me and we did it. And it's a fun way to let them add their personality into the slides as we do this.
So everything that you do in the beginning of your class is with Pear Deck.
Yeah, not every single period, but for the most part, yeah. Generally, if I'm going to do a Pear Deck lesson, which is totally the MVP for me this school year in this current setting, if I'm going to do a Pear Deck lesson, I always start it with a slide like this to do something fun. And I just make a choice of, do I want it to be something fast where maybe they just answer a quick question or drag their dot to a certain location on the screen? or am I willing to give up a little bit more of my class time to do something fun like a drawing? And I kind of rotate back and forth between those things. But I know if the lesson that day is going to take 35 minutes, I don't have that much time to spare. I better get to it quick. So I might just ask them, drag your dot to the Taylor Swift you feel like today or whatever.
Right.
To the picture. Yeah.
Now, do you have a presentation that you use every day or for the week? Like, how do you organize these prompts to the students in your drive? Like, I'm assuming you have one presentation with all the different prompts that you want them to.
I wish I did.
No?
So every day is a separate slide deck, right? Every lesson is a separate slide deck. And I'm like, my problem is this is my first time teaching this content in 9 years. And 9 years ago, I obviously wasn't using Google Slides or Pear Deck. At least I don't think I was using Google Slides, but I definitely wasn't using Pear Deck. So I'm kind of making stuff on the fly like day before, okay. Right? And I just don't have time to be as organized as I want to. But so a given day, a given class period has one Google slide deck with maybe one of these questions at the beginning, and then whatever the actual content questions are, going down from there. And maybe at the end of the year, this is one of those goals that you have that you don't know if you'll ever actually do. I'll go and sit down and pull those all into one slide deck, so I have them one place, so I can copy and paste them. Hey, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah's here. She says that the resource that you shared was great. So, and she said that you should own that you're old.
I am owning it. Sarah, I'm letting the gray come in. It's okay. I'm owning it.
And then we have another comment from Jolie. She says that your resource and everything was great as well. So she thanks you too.
Thanks, Jolie. We got two people there that should be on the podcast in place. I mean, those are two awesome ed tech educators right there.
I would love Jolie to be on. Sarah is already going to debut her second appearance next month.
I'm saying one ahead of you, Sarah. I'm at 3.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, But Jolie, if you want to be on, I think I tweeted you to see if you wanted to be a guest on the show. I'll tweet it to you again.
Yeah, I got to make that happen for sure. I should say while we're talking about this Pear Deck stuff that even though these hacks work wonderfully to get those premium slides in the free version, one issue between premium and free is that in the free version, I can't see which kid is which as the responses are coming in. So I don't know who drew the dragon and who drew the panda in their drawings until afterwards when I can export it as a spreadsheet. Actually, for drawings, you really can't know at all. So the paid version is it gives you all that
better, analytics, right? Yeah.
And I think that's why like Pear Deck is like, you know what, if you want to hack it to use these drawing and draggable slides, that's fine, right? Because the real power is in the paid version where you get those analytics. And it's a super fairly priced tool. And it's so powerful. I mean, by using this, I can keep all my kids on task. I can formative assess. I can assign homework because these can be asynchronous. I can do these temperature checks with the kids. That's another thing. It asks the kids how they're feeling when they come into the Pear Deck. So I quickly know who's a smiley face, who's a frowny face, and who's in between. I have these great rapport building things, and I think it's a great value for the cost of what it is, for sure.
So 2 things. So one thing that I want you to show is how do you have the kids join your Pear Deck?
Okay, so let's go ahead and start. I didn't know if we'd have time for that, but I would love to start it up. So all you have to do is you click Start Lesson, and you have a choice between student paste or instructor paste. Student paste means like for asynchronous work or for homework, or sometimes I'll use it when I just want the kids to move at their own pace. Typically, I start instructor paste to do this fun opening activity, and then I might say, okay, you could work on the rest of the content at your own speed, and then I toggle over to student paste. And that's one of the main differences between Pear Deck and Nearpod. With Nearpod, you could do a similar activity to what we're doing here with Pear Deck, have the same kind of fun with a with a class opener, do the same kind of rapport building stuff with Nearpod, and it would go great. One of the differences with Nearpod is student paced is not in the free version. So in the free version, you can't do student paced, but you can do this instructor paced like we're talking about. Although I think the power of Nearpod is, I think in the free version, you could see which student is which response. So it's kind of a trade-off. I do have a resource comparing the two different tools that I've been working on. But anyhow, we're going to do this as an instructor paste. So I'll click on it. And it's going to bring up this launcher. And you'll see it opens one new tab for me. So I have my slides open over here. And then I have my presentation session open over here. And anybody that's watching live, you're welcome to jump in and try these out here. One thing, and we'll see them come up down here at the bottom. If we get anybody, they'll appear right down here where it says no students connected. What I typically actually do in my lessons is this isn't the screen that I normally show. I have a Google slide that I show at the beginning of every class and says, write down your assignment for today. It's this. Take out your materials for today. It's this. And then join the Pear deck. Here's the code. And then I manually type the code in there. That's just a system that I like because it lets me have that kind of opening message and then get them into the Pear deck and they kind of hop in there. But I'll just copy and paste this code in there. Now, another difference here is you see it says Open Teacher Dashboard. That's a paid feature. Or if you're in a trial, like if you're just starting Pear deck today, you're going to have a trial to start off with and you're going to have access to that. And that's where we'll see those actual student responses with names. Here in this version, we're not going to see them, right? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click to exit this slide, and you'll see the code will go up here in the top corner. So it's always there if we need it. I can make it full screen by clicking on it if I want to. But right now we got 3 people in, and one of them has already responded. And so I'm waiting for responses from the other ones. One tool that I didn't know about in Pear Deck for a long time is this lock screens button here. I knew I could lock the student screens, but what I didn't know is I could set a timer. So I'm going to set a timer for 30 seconds.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, and now the kids see it on their end. They see that countdown there too, and it locks their screen when it gets to there. So that's a kind of a nice way. The kids hate it with the drawings because they're like, "Give me 10 more minutes," and I'm like, "I'm not going to give you 10 more minutes." I wish that it had more options. I wish that it had more options than 30, 1 minute, and 3 minutes. But what I'll do is, if it's getting low, I'll just come back over and bump it back up to 30 if I feel like I need more time for them. So I'll go ahead and lock this screen here, and then let's look at the responses. Okay, so we have some responses down there. We could see at the top one here, weekend was good, nothing exciting, nothing bad. That's why I always say, like, what was a highlight of your weekend? Like, I tell the kids be specific, and they'll say, like, oh, I watched the football game, or oh, I saw this new movie, or oh, whatever, I baked with my mom, or whatever it was. We try to get some more specific answers out of there. But this also brings up some conversations. Like if this was my class, we would be having a conversation about who is in Australia. Why is one of my students in Ohio coming to us from Australia, right? And it always leads to some fun conversations. And then I jump forward to the next one. So let's see, here's our would you rather be a walrus or a turtle, and why? And then I'll say, like, okay, let's give this one 30 seconds here. No, I don't want to show responses. I want to do my timer.
So it's nice with Pear Deck because you can control the pace of the presentation.
Right. And I can lock it whenever I want. And sometimes I might go like, we have something really quick we need to talk about today, and I'll like freeze their screens and I'll say, I'll give you more time with it in a moment, right? And bring it back up in a moment. But yeah, then I'll give them that timer there. And then whenever I'm ready, I could toggle the show responses button, and we'll see the people typing there. And that's why the why is. They're looking like that first one there. So I can hide from people I don't want to talk to, right? Or the second person gets seasick, right? And we see some fun responses in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do a complete the scribble, because that's the really fun one. We'll skip over
You can skip.
Yeah, I could go through. I could toggle through them using these arrows. I could also click this button and jump down to whatever one I want to. So let's jump to the complete the squiggle one. And the kids always want so much time with this one. One hidden benefit I've found in this one is most of my students were new to Pear Deck at the beginning of this school year. And the drawings that they made at the beginning of the school year were some of them were kind of a train wreck in here. They didn't know how to use the tools. They didn't know how to change the thickness of their marker. They didn't know how to switch from highlighter to regular pen. They didn't know how to use the text tool. They were like trying to draw text with the pen. And they learned it by doing these activities. And now when I do something content related, they've got the tools down from the fun stuff they were doing.
So you kind of tackled two things at once, right?
Yeah.
With that. So that was good. Yeah.
I wish I could say it was intentional, but that's
But
just the way.
it's funny though, Jake, because we all assume that they know how to do those things because I'm in middle school too. And when I show them some of the tools and Google Drawings and slides, they're like blown away. Like, I didn't know we can do this, and it's the same thing. You just assume, but they don't know. So that's great.
Yeah. And this is one thing I talk about with ed tech a lot is that, when we identify technology tools to use with the goal of solving a problem or meeting a goal or addressing a need in our classrooms, often we find that it solves other problems and meets other goals and addresses other needs that we didn't even realize we had, right? Like, I didn't realize I needed to introduce my kids to how to use these tools in Pear Deck. I didn't realize that my goal might have been to just have some fun at the beginning of the class, but I didn't realize that I was also going to get to know some of my kids' interests because there are patterns to what they draw every time, right? So there are these like hidden benefits a lot of the times in the tools we use. So let me go ahead and show responses here. Let's see our squiggles. So here we go. And I always try to play up what they're doing here and joke around about it. And the kids will say like, remember that one the other day that you were laughing at? That one was mine. And I'm like, I actually knew it was yours. Your classmates didn't know, but I knew. And it's kind of just fun to just add some fun. And I'll say like, oh, this one looks like a ghost who's shrugging his shoulders like, eh? Right?
Yeah,
it's just a little fun, little fun conversations that come out of it. Here, this person.
Oh, that one looks like an octopus.
Oh yeah, that's like an octopus. I was going to say they completed the squiggle with another squiggle, but you're right. I think it is an octopus there. And here we got another octopus, right? It's we always laugh at how there's patterns in what they do there. And then a lot of the times, what I'll do is I'll switch to this grid layout so we can see them all at the same time.
All at the same time.
And I'll say like, tell me in the chat which one's your favorite, right? And they'll all tell, oh, I like the octopus with the red tentacles, and the kids get into talking about it. And I'll tell the kids too. If you want to tell us in the chat when yours comes up, tell us like that one's mine, and some of the kids will. Or I'll say, if you want to guess whose is whose, go ahead and guess. There have been some days too where we do drawings where I'll just say like, draw whatever you want on the slide. Like, I don't give them a squiggle, I say draw whatever you want. And then we try to guess them. And it's funny, like I said, we now know each other so well that as soon as it comes up, we're like, oh, that's so-and-so. He always draws a dragon. Or, oh, it's got Mario in it. That kid, that's so-and-so who loves Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Right? And we could guess who it is. But then sometimes they're like, no, it's not me. And we have a good time with it too.
That's cool. I like that because I really think it does break the ice, and then it gets the kids talking. Because right now, like the kids, they're chatting. They put everything in the chat. They don't talk, so it gives them an opportunity to talk, to unmute, maybe even to show their camera, and talk like we usually do when we're in school, And Sarah made a comment as well. She said that she thinks that the kids are more afraid to try something until you give them permission. So that's even a valid point too, with us letting them explore some of these other options or other, features that are in these tech tools that we're using. So that's definitely a good point too.
Yeah, you're building kind of a safe little like playground or like a sandbox, as they call it in the tech world, right? To try something out with no risk. Like they're not risking breaking something or getting in trouble or getting a bad grade on something. It's just something for fun, and they're getting to try out like new tools or new skills in a low risk, low stakes kind of way.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to try this. Like this year, I'm not teaching. I'm just I'm facilitating my robotics club. So that's the only time when I interact with kids. And I started using Classroom Screen to add things that I want them to do while they're waiting for me to, actually start the club.
Yeah.
But this is actually a great idea as well. So I'm going to try to think of some goofy things.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, try it with your...
All
right, try it with your teachers, and you'll find out how much they love it too. As you could tell, like we just had some adults who are opting to learn extra things in their evening, and they just enjoy drawing an octopus, right? And I bet some of them are giggling at the octopus they drew, right? It's even fun for the adult learners to try out too.
I think it's like a brain break too.
Oh yeah, for sure,
sure, definitely.
And this one here is the one where I was going to add the picture of the sloth, but never actually got it onto the slide. But you could see, those of you who are on, that you could drag your dot to wherever you want on the screen. So pretend there's a picture of 9 sloths on there and you're dragging your dot to those locations. And if I show the responses, you'll see where the dots are at on the screen, and they're overlaid. If you don't lock your screens here, the dots can still move. So we might see some of the people watching move their dots around. With the kids love doing that. So sometimes I intentionally don't lock it. I mean, like in this year, like the kids are having a rough time, and so are the adults. If I can give them something to giggle at, I'll take the cheap laughs and let them move their dot around the screen, right?
Yeah. It's no harm.
Right, exactly. But so you could see, as we were kind of mentioning earlier, I don't know who any of these dots are. In the paid version, there's a background teacher dashboard that I could see which dot is which. I'll be like, oh, that one's Sarah, and that one's Jolie, and that one's Kim, and I would know who was who in the paid version. But in the free version, I don't know. So you just got to make sure that you're not trying, you're not expecting to get some student specific data out of this, and that there's obviously a little bit of risk there too if you're in the free version, that somebody puts in something inappropriate, who it is.
You don't know who it is.
I think an option on those drawing slides is to require them to add their name to the slide too, so that you always know who it is. But again, I think that the premium version is very fairly priced, gives you some amazing data and some amazing skills in it. So I certainly think anybody who's interested in this should try out the trial of it and then evaluate maybe using it, using the premium version long term.
Yeah, I know. I gave PD on it. I don't know when it was, a while ago. It was before the pandemic, and I just never got anybody to dive into it. Yeah. One teacher attempted, he liked it, but he found it difficult to incorporate his math questions into the slide. So I think he kind of gave up on it. But I think I'm gonna revisit this and see how staff reacts to it, and try to engage them similar to what you're showing me here, because I try to show staff something every week, something new, or maybe a review, and just to model good practices, or model student engagement with them, so that they can maybe use it with their kids.
Yeah.
So this would be a great activity that I can borrow from you, just to see how staff, reacts to it.
Right. And the fun thing about doing this right here is that you do this with the staff or something, and they see, educators, we see a lesson in everything we do, right? We're always thinking of lesson ideas. So an educator might be doing this activity, dragging their dot around to the sloth that they feel like today, even though I don't have the sloth there. You can tell which sloth I feel like today. But they're thinking I could do this with a map of United States, or, I could do this with a diagram of an animal cell, or, I could do this with the coordinate plane and ask them to show me the second quadrant, or, I could do this with whatever, right? And that drawing slide, they could be, labeling a transform boundary of 2 faults in earth science, or whatever it is. We start to think of those ideas as we look at doing these different things.
Yeah.
I was laughing at you saying about the teachers, previously not being interested in using Pear Deck, because my kids actually today, one of my students came in, I had the Pear Deck code up on the screen, and they're like, I feel like we do Pear Deck in every classroom because our teachers are so excited about it. But the one girl said, but in Mr. Miller's room, we get to draw the pictures. And they're like, yeah, that part's fun. Right. And they're excited about it. So they buy in because of the fun stuff. And which I always love, because 8th graders are the kings of saying this is lame. This is so lame.
Oh, yeah, I'm too cool for this.
They have a blast with it. They really have a lot of fun with it.
I find that they're just taller babies. They still like getting stickers. I give them stickers. When we had face-to-face instruction, they still like that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. You just don't let everybody know that they like it, right?
Exactly. Oh, this was great, Jake. I'm so glad that you showcased this today, because I think it's important to have a set of ed tech tools that you go to during this time. And Pear Deck could be one that many people can benefit from. And I'm glad that you were able to share that with the audience, because you don't have to make things hard and complicated. Keep things simple and just create one slide asking a question, and then you have, you're building community, you're building rapport, you're making it a friendly, safe environment, and maybe you'll even get them to giggle a little bit.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I just think when you keep things simple, it's a good thing sometimes.
Oh, I 100% agree. And I should also point out that you could kind of use any of these activities in another platform too. It doesn't have to be Pear Deck, right? The Pear Deck happens to be the one that I'm using this in, but you could probably find ways to try out the same idea, and obviously in Nearpod, because it's a very similar tool, but also in Google Slides or in Jamboard or in whiteboard.fi or whiteboard.chat or whatever tool you're using. You could probably hack these same kinds of ideas in them to yield the same process. Because really what we're trying to do here, the goal is building that rapport, having a little bit of fun, and maybe having a nice way to kind of ease into class at the beginning of the period. And that doesn't necessarily equate to a certain tool, right? You could use whatever tool is best for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I use Jamboard, and I introduced that to the kids as well in the robotics club, and they're starting to get acquainted with it and get familiar with it too. So it's not just about the tool, it's how you use it, and showing, engagement and fun through the tools that you're used to.
Right.
You may be able to put a different twist on it,
Yeah, you could totally do this with
definitely.
Jamboard. And I know you were like a Jamboard OG. Like you were talking Jamboard before. Like you were like, everybody try Google Jamboard. And everybody's like, what's that? What's Google Jamboard?
Now everybody's on the Jamboard train,
Right.
which is good because
yes, that's great.
there's where Alice Keeler and I are actually writing a book now about Jamboard,
That's
and
awesome.
we're trying to incorporate like pedagogy with it, why you would use this. It's not a presentation tool, it's a collaboration tool. And I'm even learning a lot more about it than what I was accustomed to before. So it's going to be a great resource. But yeah, Jamboard it came a long way because of the pandemic.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely because of the pandemic. So now my Jamboard resources are kind of like bland. I have to update them.
Gotta catch them up to all the things they keep adding to it, right?
Yeah, that's a job in itself. I'm trying, but it's it's good though. I have a few in there that people were sharing with me. They're paying it forward, so I displayed it on my website, but I still have more to add. So it's a process.
I hear you. That's why I alluded to earlier a list of comparisons between Pear Deck and Nearpod that I have, but I've got to update it. Like they like one tool will add something, the other tool will add something, and I'm like, hold on, I don't have time to update it, right? And then you gotta go fix it sometimes.
It's hard. It takes a lot of time to update. So but like you said, like my district, we have a paid subscription to Nearpod. So I may end up using your twist in Nearpod just because we have a subscription for it.
Oh yeah,
but I'll certainly give it a try.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, Pear Deck has been around for a long time, and I know that they have a lot of great resources, and their library has a lot of templates for internet awesome, right? Be internet awesome. The curriculum is all integrated with Pear Deck, so you can always try that. And it's just great interaction. I know I really like it, but because my district's got the paid version of Nearpod, I might just try both just to see and give people, think out of the box a little bit,
Yeah, I think it would work wonderfully in Nearpod. Like we were saying, it's about the goal, not the tool, right? And if your goal is the rapport and the fun, the tool doesn't matter as long as it meets the goal.
It doesn't matter. It's how you use it. So I'm glad that you actually came on today, Jake. I know you were rushing around, and I appreciate you taking the time to be on. I wish we had time to chat a little bit more before the show, but that's okay. I wanted to catch up with you. Yeah, definitely wanted to catch up with you. But well, that's going to conclude our show for tonight. I'll let Jake get back to his dinner. So what I'm going to do really quick is just share my screen and tell me if I'm sharing my screen. Okay, Jake? Do you see my website?
Looks good. We're paying it forward. I see it.
All right. So you can visit thesweettalk.com and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, my podcast on Spotify, Podbean, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts as well. You can subscribe to my newsletter. If you missed this episode, it'll be displayed here on my webpage as well as the podcast. If you need help with Google Classroom, you can check out the new book that Alice Keeler and I wrote. It's called Stepping Up to Google Classroom. It'll help you get started. If you like to support my mission and be a sponsor of my show, you can fill out the sponsor form, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I'm happy to say that I do have sponsors now for the Sweet Talk that help me pay it forward. So thank you to Cami, Slides Mania, GAT Labs. I really appreciate it, and Screencastify as well. If you'd like to be a guest on my show, you can fill out the guest form and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Right now I'm scheduling for May, so I'm so thankful for that. And all of my episodes will be listed here on the episode page. You can check out the YouTube links and the show notes, which are Wakelet collections. It takes a little bit of time to load.
And then
my
got 155 in there, right? It takes a little while.
It's a little bit of time. And then you can check out the Jamboard page as well. As Jake and I were saying, I have a page here for Jamboard. You could check out my resources here. And if you want to share an idea with me, I will present it here in the presentation. All you have to do is fill out the share your idea form and submit it in, and I will promise I will add it to the presentation. So with that being said, I am going to stop sharing my screen and come back to Jake.
Well, thank you so much for having me on today. I hope everybody goes and checks out those resources you shared there, the book and the Jamboard stuff, because you do some great stuff and you share so unselfishly with people. So thanks for doing that, Kim.
Thanks, Jake. And thanks for all your contributions as well to the Paying It Forward community and into your Educational Duct Tape podcast community as well. I know you have a tremendous following and you contribute so much, and I appreciate everything that you do and sharing all your GIFs and GIFs, hard G, soft
Thank you
G.
for fixing that there.
So it's all good. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right, everyone. That concludes our show for tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.